Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time you're watching this. It's been a little while since we've done a live stream hangout. It's been busy with the holidays, Christmas, New Year, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I've just been sitting here working on a video and figured I'd kind of take a little break and hop on and we'll hang out. So, how's everybody doing? Hey, what's up, the mates? Hey, what's up, Omer? Omer? Not sure how you say it. Let me know. Yeah, so pretty much I've been kind of busy with usual videos and holiday stuff. Right now, I'm working on my tutorials for the Uniden DFR8 and DFR9. What's up, David? Oh, hey from London. Hey, Nick. William, what's up? Omar. Oh, perfect. Thank you. What's up, Omar? So yeah, I'm working on the tutorials for DFR8 and 9, just kind of getting those done. I've got this like huge list of kind of videos I want to create and tutorials. So, I mean, a bunch of stuff. So I'm just kind of working through the list, dash cams to review. I've got a bunch of dash cams that I want to get to. I've got new stuff that I want to get to, but I've got so many things kind of piled up that I want to get checked off the list and everything. So I'm just kind of working through all of that. When do I leave for Vegas? I fly out Monday evening. So pretty much the schedule as far as what I'm going to be doing. CES is this next coming week. So I'm flying out Monday evening. I'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and most of Thursday, and then I fly back home Thursday evening. So pretty much 3 days, maybe 2.5 of like solid shooting videos and everything. Kind of the schedule and everything is like shoot, interview, talk to people all day long. Maybe grab dinner somewhere cool. I always like to go to the Gordon Ramsay burger place. They have the most amazing burgers, so I make a point to go there at least once. Every time I go to Vegas, it's so good. If you guys are ever there, it's in Planet Hollywood, or not Planet Hollywood. Yeah, Planet Hollywood Casino. The Gordon Ramsay burger and the Farmhouse burger with the truffle fries are unbelievably good. And I hear my dog coming. He's probably about to open this door here and jump in. Hey, and there he is. Hey, what's up, buddy? So, yeah, that place is amazing. But I'm always super busy, like shooting everything all day, and I want to get the videos up as soon as possible. So usually in the evenings, I'm like working on the videos back at my Airbnb or something. So that'll be good. Usually the Airbnbs, I hope I got a good one this time. I was trying to do that to save a little bit of cash, but then I wind up getting, one time I went and the place had no Wi-Fi. The last one that I went to for SEMA, they had a bunch of pets. So they had a couple dogs. They had a parrot who would be like chattering and stuff. The dogs would be whining at midnight and everything. So I'd have to like go up and shush them and stuff. But hopefully this place, I don't think it'll have any annoying pets. I love pets, obviously, but I also need to be able to work. And Wi-Fi, got to have that. Got to be reasonably close and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, hopefully that's good. I'll be able to work and get some videos up for you guys. As far as new things, I do know of some stuff from Escort coming up. They shared with me a little bit as far as what they're going to be talking about. So there is going to be some stuff from them, not a new radar detector. It's more of like Escort Live stuff, which I'll share with you guys. So that should be interesting. New firmware update for the Max 360, not in a little while. Right now, I know they're working on, what's it called? The lockup issue. So there's new diagnostic firmware coming in, which they're going to be sending me. I need to send my 360C in for updates. But yeah, anything from Waylands? Not really. I saw them at SEMA. Aaron was there. If you guys remember, he was the one who used to work with Escort. And now he's over at Waylands. And well, actually, same thing with some of the other people. Man, his name escapes me off at the moment. The guy I interviewed before for the Waylands 360. As soon as I hear his name, I'll remember it. But he actually used to be at Escort, and now he's over at Waylands, and it looks like Aaron is there now too. But yeah, so nothing there. As far as a ton of new stuff, I haven't heard of a ton of new things. We'll see. It'll be a little bit tough because unlike SEMA, where everybody was in the same area, this year at CES, people are kind of scattered all over. So it's going to be a lot more walking and stuff. But yeah, hopefully get to everybody that I want to. I've already been talking and emailing. One company that I want to definitely go visit is Owlcam. So yeah, to be talking to them. I've been getting so many requests from you guys to review them, and I'm just kind of so backlogged about stuff that I'll be happy to at least go talk to them and whatnot. My dog just came down, so he's wanting to like lick, 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 and he wants to hang out. And it's kind of needy sometimes, but great to hang out with. Bought an R1 from Best Buy after seeing your video. Incredible deal. Yeah, awesome. Oh, Rusty, you got an owl on Black Friday. How do you like it? Anything new expected on laser jammers? Not that I'm aware of. It's mostly radar detectors and dash cams. I don't think laser jammer companies like ALP doesn't show up. TMG, they're obviously too new. Escort, they don't really push their laser jammer stuff too much. I mean, yeah, they got the shifter max, but that was the last real update. And there's, well, the ZR5 and ZW5, but nothing really new besides that. So nothing as far as laser jammers. What's up, Michael? Let's see. Isn't TMG Korean anyways? Yeah, it was developed in Korea, but a lot of the stuff, ALP, it's from Croatia. Escort, I believe it's the new blinder, which is out of Denmark. So all the stuff, I think V1 is really the only thing that's made here in the US. Escort does do some, like their Max CI and the, what's the other one? The IXCI, it's assembled here in the US, but everything it's built overseas and then comes here for assembly and testing and stuff. But most of the stuff, it's actually done overseas. Uniden, done overseas. Yeah. Taiwanese. Oh, TMG. Yes, you're right. It is Taiwanese. Thank you for that. You're correct. Cool. And so I guess kind of coming back to CES, every time I go, I always like to try something a little bit different. So last time I went, I just got the new Sony a7 III, which I've been using lately, and I'm loving it because it shoots at 4K and it has autofocus when I'm doing video. So it makes it so much easier for me when I'm shooting. I got the LCD you can see on top of the camera now. Time before that, I got like new microphones. So I've been doing that to make sure the audio sounds better. So every time I go, I like to try something new. I made a note this time to like make sure I remember to bring chapstick because the dry heat of Las Vegas, my lips wind up cracking after a couple days and it's kind of painful and stuff. So made a note to bring that, headphones so that I can edit and stuff. But one thing that I'm going to be playing with this time that you guys are going to see when I get there is I picked up a new slider for my camera, which I'm really excited to try. And the idea here is you can set this on your tripod or you can set it down on the ground and then the camera screws right onto here. And then the idea is you can press a button and the slider will slowly start to move like this, as you can see. And I can control it from my phone to adjust the speed or like start and stop it remotely. And the idea here is with the camera on top, can I stop it? I press it once or twice? I don't know. Just got it in, so I'm starting to learn how to use it. So it's like press it twice to go this way, or 3 times to go that way. Now, what it's going to be helpful for is like the close-up B-roll shot. So as I'm talking about a new dash cam or whatever, instead of having the camera fixed and just looking at a thing, I can have it slowly start to move past a dash cam or whatever. And I think it's going to make the stuff look a lot nicer. So that's something to keep an eye out for. And it's kind of one of the behind the scenes things. I've been playing with it in my car. I've been experimenting, like I can mount it maybe vertically and have the camera go up and down. And it's going to be a lot easier than maybe trying to like handhold something or use like a gimbal to stabilize or try to in software get rid of some of the handshake with stabilization stuff in post. So I think that's going to really help just kind of like up the video quality in general. So it's kind of one of those things where every time I go, I try to do something a little bit new. And that's one thing that I'm excited about trying. And I don't think it's going to add too much extra time to my workflow, just for the close-up shots, instead of just hitting record and sitting back for a couple seconds. And then hoping the exposure and the background and reflections and everything looks good, I can get that. And it's going to just kind of up the production quality. So that should be fun. Am I driving or flying? So in this case, I'm definitely flying. I could drive. It would be a lot of fun. I'd love to do the drive, but a lot of it comes down to time. Got my dog, and it's kind of tough for my wife to like take off work. And usually, since I work from home here, in the middle of the day, I can go take him for a walk and, you know, go to the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. But since she works, we have to figure out, like, does she work from home? Does she come back, you know, for lunch and then drive back there? So it's a little bit tough with the dog. Plus her birthday is on the 11th. And so it's like, that's one reason why I'm flying back on the 10th. The evening is like CES for a couple days and then come back for her birthday. So a lot of it comes down to that. Can we ask a question about laser jammers? Of course. I may or may not be able to answer it. There's a lot of questions coming by. One thing that you guys are doing, I know there's a lot of questions that go by. Sometimes it's tough for me to see all of them or respond to every single one of them. So you can always use the super chat thing. What that does is it basically makes the questions like sticky at the top of my screens here, so I'm able to see it. And it also is like a way just to support me and what I'm doing. So yeah, you can pay a couple bucks, $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever you want, and it will like sticky the questions at the top. And it also makes things just easier for me to see. And if you do that, I'll definitely respond. So that's kind of a fun thing that you can do. Play-Doh, any ideas on side view cameras for someone who has front and rear? Side view to anything that can happen? Yeah, so I haven't seen a lot of good 4-channel ones with side view ones. I've experimented with that on my car. In my Miata, there's not really like a good place to mount side view cameras. I've tried kind of next to the rear view mirrors, but they wind up blocking it. Most normal cars, like an SUV or something, if you have fixed windows that don't go up and down, you can try mounting them there. I've seen people actually do two-channel cameras. So for your main camera, you mount them front and rear, and then for the rear cameras, you mount them on the sides, pointing out right and left. Yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, 5, 10, 20, whatever you want. Dude, I've seen people do, I heard one guy who actually does like $10,000 donations, and it's just to see people freak out. I would love to have that kind of money just for like seeing the people's reactions. So you can do all kind of stuff. But yeah, the super chat thing, it is a paid thing. So I just want to throw that out of like, yes, you have options and you can choose how much you want. So kind of like Patreon or whatever, that sort of thing. Let's see. Should I upgrade from the DFR7 to the DFR9? Honestly, for most people, no. The performance and the filtering is the same. It's just like an updated case, a new display. It does have some new features like being able to speak the Ka band frequency. It's got an automatic dimming display, the new OLED display, that kind of stuff. Search my channel for the DFR9 kind of overview, and it goes over pretty much all of the differences between the DFR7 and DFR9. Honestly, for most people, if you're just getting started, the DFR7, it's going to be a way better deal, especially because it's in the process of being discontinued. Whereas the DFR9, once the DFR7 goes out, the DFR9 is going to be the replacement, but it's $329. And for a few dollars more, you can get an R3, which has more features, better performance, even better filtering, MRCD. It's more future-proof. Like the DFR9, it's just in this weird place of being more expensive than the DFR7 was and really close to the price of the R3. So honestly, I find it a little bit hard to justify that. I think they need to drop the price down a little bit. So it's not one that I'm super excited about, but it is kind of one that I haven't bothered to do videos on that much because of this weird stuff with the DFR7 and the R3. But it's one that I've just kind of been needing to get the tutorials on anyway. So that's kind of why I'm doing the videos on them. It's more just because, well, I need to do them, not because it's like this amazing, awesome choice. So for most people, I don't really think you should get the DFR9, but once the DFR7 goes out and hopefully if they drop the price of the DFR9, I think it'll be a better choice. So I'm not super excited about it. I did a video on it recently. I still think that it's maybe better than some of the other options that are out there, like the CR97 from Whistler, some of the Escort options, things like that. But yeah. Can you make an updated video on how to update the R3? My current videos are all current. The only differences are, well, the firmware number will be higher than before, but the process itself is still the same for Windows and Mac. So you can still watch those. My original one, older, was different, but my newer ones are updated and they include some additional information and tips, the things that you guys have mentioned in some of the updates, like, oh, I have trouble with the cable or the update process, or what about this and that? I include some extra notes. So my oldest original one is a little bit out of date, but my newer current ones, those will all still apply. Yeah, let's see. Can there be false alerts to MRCD? Oh, yeah, of course. I have MRCD falses here in Seattle. We don't have it in use here either. It's been helpful for me to like get a video clip. I'll hold up my phone and I'm like, oh, look, there's an MRCD false, and I can get a video showing what the MRCD alerts look like. It's helpful for that, but there's no actual MRCD in use here. And that's actually one of the tricky things of like, just like, you know, how there's K-band falses and there can be laser falses and X-band falses. It's possible to get MRCD falses. And so it's one of those things where just like Obi-Wan Kenobi is saying, I wouldn't recommend running it if you don't need it. And yes, in Orlando, they don't have MRCD, so I'd leave the feature turned off. And that's kind of one of the things that makes it tricky to find, is MRCD actually in use? Well, just because your detector alerts to MRCD doesn't mean that you actually have it. So one thing that I'm kind of working with now is like, can we have some sort of guide to like, how do you determine if MRCD is actually in your area? Here's what they look like. It's kind of a, well, kind of it's like black horizontal thing like this, kind of the radar transmitter that's attached to the front of a vehicle or fixed somewhere. No, the Escort 360 does not alert to MRCD. So the things usually looks kind of like this. There's usually a camera attached with a flash, and sometimes you can go and read like news articles and stuff. So trying to figure out what are the typical tips and tricks you can look for to determine that, yes, MRCD is in use in my area, as opposed to just another false alert like you're seeing in Orlando, you know? So that's kind of another one of the 10,000 different projects I'd like to do, but those are kind of the ideas here of things to do. One thing that I'd actually like to do is figure out how to simplify and speed up the video creation process, just to get more of this kind of all these little tips and tricks, you know, just to get them out sooner and get more of them done. Because every video that I shoot, it's it's kind of a production, you know. Even my DFR9 stuff, I've got multiple cameras and audios, and I'm adding little, every time I switch, let's talk about the K-band filter or the KA-band filter, I'll add a little text thing at the bottom of the screen, and then I'll go and add a note as far as, oh, I talk about this at 7 minutes and 32 seconds. And so I create this outline, and there's just all these little things that are involved with creating the videos, or even for whatever reason this time, usually when I sync the audio and the video, if I have a separate audio recorder and then my cameras, everything syncs properly. But this time, it's not quite in sync. So my lips and the audio are a little bit out of sync. So I have to go for every video clip and slightly shift things over so that the video and audio are synced. So it's little just annoyances like that to get a video. There's all these little things that it takes to make one video. And I'm just wanting to like speed up the process so I can get to just creating more videos and whatnot. So is Escort going to update the firmware to alert to MRCD? Who knows? Seems like they could. They already have MRCD support in the Redline EX and whatnot. When it comes to Escort, I really would not wait on them to update their firmware to give you the features that they want. The Redline EX has MRCD support, but it falses way more than the Uniden and Redenso option. So if you're genuinely looking for MRCD detection, even though Escort's been doing it longer than Uniden and Redenso, I would go to the other options. And so, yeah, Escort's history of firmware updates is not good. So don't hold your breath when it comes to them, but that's kind of the status on that. So don't shift the video and audio. Just point and say, Godzilla, Godzilla. That would be funny. Should do that. Yeah. Where is MRCD in use in the US? So there's MRCD and MRCT, two slightly different technologies. I think T is newer than D. I forget. Somebody who actually sees this stuff more often. I'm kind of dependent on you guys to report what you're seeing and get verification. But in short, there is the, off the top of my head, I've got it listed somewhere, but there's Chicago, which is MRCT, I believe. MRCD is Maryland, Washington, D.C. I've heard rumors in Texas, but I haven't seen any actual confirmation of that yet. In Canada, there's Edmonton. I think Quebec has it. So there's a couple places here and there, but again, it's covered online. I generally go back and do the research and figure out where it is, and I'll post it whenever I talk about MRCD stuff. Yeah, Max 360C International has MRCD support. Cool, but hopefully they'll bring that over here to the US. They do all sorts of weird things where like there was the Redline EX, and they announced that one. Oh, that has international support. It can detect the MRCD, and there's only going to be one version. And then later they released the the Redline EX International, and you're like, what was that? I thought the original Redline EX can do it too, and it can. Like, it's weird. So Escort does weird stuff. Their international support is really not that great. So if they had the Max 360C International that can do MRCD, sure, they could bring it over to the US version as well. Will they? Don't hold your breath when it comes to Escort. It's, who knows? Yeah. Yes, the Unidens will detect MRCD and MRCT. Kill Baby, is it only KA-band in California? 99% of this case, yes. There are a few rural places around the Bay Area and some places here and there that use K-band, but it's really rare. So KA-band is pretty much the majority of what you'll see in California. How is the no photo working out for you? Works fine, but I took it off my car a little while ago and it's sitting in my closet, like in here somewhere. I don't really see I don't really use the no photo much for two primary reasons. Number one, I haven't actually needed it a single time. I don't have issues with running red lights or anything, and speed cameras, I have my alerts from my detectors, and there's not a ton of them in use anyway, so I don't really need it in the first place. The second thing is I don't have a good way of turning it off, especially at night. I have it wired into my taillights for power. So when I turn on my headlights, the no photo is powered on. If I want to turn off the no photo, I just turn off my headlights. And this is helpful for when I go through, like on the highway, they have the toll booths, or if I'm going up to Canada and they go through like all the border security stuff there, they take pictures of your plates. I want it turned off there. Now that's fine for daytime, but at night I can't turn off my lights. And so I don't have a good way of going through that stuff and turning off my no photo at night because I don't want to turn off my lights for obvious reasons. I could always go in and wire in a separate power kill switch. But that's just extra work. And yeah. Will the no photo be useful for tolls? No. It's not designed for tolls. I did a video with the No Photo CEO. You can search for that on my channel, and we actually talk about that specifically. It's not designed for tolls. It will alert to some of them, but not for all of them. It's problematic, and it's not one of those things to save like $2, $3 or something for a $400 device. Like, it's one thing if you're trying to protect against speed cameras where the tickets are hundreds of dollars, but for a couple dollars for tolls, like, you're going to have to do this over and over, and it's going to become really obvious and start to create problems. And a lot of them it doesn't work for in the first place. So it's not really good for tolls. It's not designed for tolls, and it's not effective against a lot of them. So yeah, and even here, like, we have front and rear plates. I run the no photo only on the rear because that's where speed cameras shoot. But for no photo, I need them on the front. And there's things like what happens if it triggers to a car right in front of you or right behind you, because there's tons of cars all going at the same time and it's flashing for everybody. It's possible for it to trigger on somebody else. So by the time you go through, it's already fired, it's depleted the capacitors, and so it doesn't flash when you go through. So they're going to get a picture of your plate. So there's just a lot of issues with it running on tolls. Again, that's not what it's designed for, and that's even if it works in the first place. So, yeah, it's meant for like speed cameras and that kind of stuff, not for tolls. But yeah. Whew. So chit chat. I guess that's kind of the main stuff. Curious, how far does laser get detected? When you're shot in general, your stuff will alert. It's actually easier to pick up laser at a distance because of the fact that laser, it has beam spread. If you've ever used a laser pointer, it's, you know how laser, it's kind of a really thin beam. The beam actually gets wider and wider and wider over a distance. It's called the beam divergence. And every laser beam will actually start to get like wider and wider and wider and bigger at a distance. And if they shoot you farther away, then because the beam is wider, it's more likely for the beam to actually hit your radar detector on your windshield or something. Plus, the handshake, any sort of handshake, because we're all human, you know, will get magnified over a distance. And so even if he's aiming at your front license plate or something, the extra handshake is more likely to go up and hit your radar detector up on the windshield. So it's one of those things where laser, it's actually easier to pick up at a distance, but laser is traditionally used at closer range anyways. Because of some of these beam divergence issues, if it's spreading, it's possible to think that the officer is targeting this car, but it's actually hitting that car because of handshake and beam divergence. And so laser a lot of times is designed to be used at closer range. Laser, it's actually, from the officer's perspective, it's tougher to hit at a distance because the car gets so small in the viewfinder that it's usually easier to shoot cars at closer range. And so it's designed for closer range operation. There's sometimes legal restrictions on how far away they're allowed to shoot, stuff like that. So yeah, it's generally designed to be a close range thing. As far as I understand, radar is accurate in rain, snow, etc., but laser isn't. Nope, they're both accurate in the rain. I live in Seattle. It rains here. You guys might have heard. And we see both radar and laser in use here. One of the issues that we'll see, so like with laser, you were asking about that. You can actually pick up reflections off of the raindrops or snow droplets and stuff, and that can interfere with the laser itself. And so what the laser guns will do is, as David is saying, there are special poor weather modes that are built into a lot of laser guns. And all that really does is it ignores any close range reflections. So maybe 20 feet or 50 feet or 100 feet or whatever it is for the particular laser gun. And it's designed to basically allow the officer to operate in the rain by ignoring any of these close range reflections from raindrops and stuff, which can weird out the laser gun. And so, yeah, they're designed for being able to be operated in the rain. Some of the newer laser guns even have like special see-through modes where they can shoot through like tree branches and stuff, and they can kind of see there's a car behind the leaves of a tree, and like they'll get some weird reflections of where the tree is, but then they can also track the vehicle moving behind some of the leaves and stuff. So the stuff is getting more sophisticated. So yeah, rain itself and poor weather does not stop an officer from using laser. Yeah, so all sorts of stuff. Some older laser jammers used to false to laser lights. Yeah, the older laser jammers did not have the same level of filtering that the newer ones do. It's, you know, a lot of times we talk about like, oh, jamming the Dragon Eye, the Stalker XLR, or all the new laser guns. But yeah, the filtering was not as good. They kind of like how radar detectors are not designed to filter out newer BSMs, laser jammers are the older ones were not designed to filter out some of the current false laser sources. So like laser-based collision avoidance or smart cruise control. I know my Blinder HP905 used to false a lot to the Polyscan, I think from Volvos. The ALP has much better filtering than than some of the older ones do. So yeah, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. So yeah, let's see. Is it true that laser jammers have a harder time jamming laser when it's being shot from an overpass? Good question. That's actually a more difficult situation for laser jammers. They can do it, but it is more difficult because laser jammers, what's it called? Ah, man, a little brain dead this morning. I'm having my coffee, but I'm still just like tired and stuff. So the beam spread of the laser jammer, it is more oval shaped than it is circular, which is actually one of the reasons why laser jammer heads need to be mounted horizontally. And there's things you can do around this. So we'll kind of build up to this. But to start your question, yes, they are generally designed for giving you better coverage on a horizontal side. So like for an officer standing on the side of the street, or maybe as your car is turning, but the laser shot is coming in from a side, it's designed to give you better coverage horizontally. It's got less coverage vertically. I forget what the exact numbers are, and it varies from one jammer head to another. But yes, you get better coverage on the sides than you do vertically. Now that could potentially be an issue for overpass shots where they're kind of a little bit above you and also kind of off to the side. Now that said, in order for an officer to get a shot off you, they can't be shooting you down like this. They have to be shooting you kind of at a distance in order for the gun to get a proper reading. And so because of that, yeah, there's going to be reduced beam divergence from the laser jammer vertically, but in order for them to get the shot, they can't be shooting you like this. They kind of have to be shooting you like this. So usually there's still coverage, but it is tougher. Now, because of that, for those of you guys who encounter that a lot, I did some testing, I remember, with the HP905, the blinder, and it was still fine. Even though it can be tougher, there are some things you can do, like if you've got the new TX heads, for example, they have more coverage in the vertical direction than the horizontal. And so that's definitely one thing that you can do to help address this situation. So the TX head we're finding actually helps with overpass shots. So it's kind of one of those things where everything has strengths and weaknesses, and it's good to know the limits of your technology and also the things that you can do to help combat this situation. So if you're concerned about that, I would definitely recommend getting a TX head, front or rear overpass. I've seen shots in the rear. That can definitely help. So yeah. Trevor, A119 died in Texas. Yeah, I was just reading a YouTube comment earlier today. Somebody was mentioning how they were having this issue as well. Heat, tough. So one of the things, some cameras are better suited to high heat. The Street Guardian cameras, I reviewed one of them a long time ago. They're like the SG9663 or whatever it was. Yeah, that one seems to have better high heat things. Also, the new iRoad cameras. It's kind of a two-channel one, like the Blackview and Thinkware ones. Those seem to have higher heat tolerances, so that could be a good option as well. It was designed like in Australia or in Europe, not Europe, in Asia, I think, where it's like super, super hot. And so that one has better heat tolerances. I haven't tested the newest version of the Street Guardians. I have tested the older ones. It was pretty good. The iRoad, they asked me to test it, but other than the high heat stuff, it didn't really have too many advantages over the other ones. So it's pushed really far down the list. And it's one of those where like I'm waiting for a 4K version or something more interesting, just because I've still got so many things I need to do that it's lower down on the list, but I'd like to do it eventually. But that is kind of one of the things I've sort of been keeping an eye on to help with the heat tolerance stuff. But yeah, heat is hard on car tech in general. So yeah. Hello from Tennessee. What's up, AK Finest? Can we buy 2 TX heads instead of 1 TX and 1 normal? So it's supposed to be maximum 1 TX head in the front and 1 TX head in the rear. I have seen people actually do things where, one second, where you can do 2 TX heads. There was something on the forums where I've seen people do that. Google around, I have seen people do 2 TX heads per side. I forget exactly why, but search on the forums and you'll find people who have been able to do it successfully. I think it just winds up being done with like splitters and whatnot, kind of like how you, well, would do splitters anyways if you want a TX head in the first place. So yeah, that's an option. So, whew, what else? course. Man, all these good questions. You guys have great ones. 2-channel, the A129 is a decent dash cam. Yeah, I wish it did 1440p. It's kind of funny they have that with their A119s. They can do 1440p, but the A129 is only 1080p. Not that that's like super bad or anything, but technology continues to progress. And if you can do 1440p, you might as well. I do see a difference with 1440p and 1080p. So it's twice the resolution, so it's a lot more to push. But yeah. I watch you all the time, and I hope you get paid really well. I wish I did. One of my goals for 2019. Yeah, it's one of those things where like this is a full-time thing, and I'm wanting it to be like a full-time income as well. So it's one of those things that I'm really pushing and making sure that I can get paid well and also maintain my whole objective, unbiased, blah, blah, blah thing, because that's super critical. So it's nice to be able to find a balance of like giving you guys awesome information, but never ever letting the money compromise what I do, I have bills to pay. I've got to make money just like you guys do. And it's nice to be able to do that and also stay true to myself and my own principles and give you guys the same awesome, like really good information that I've been wanting to do from the start. So yeah. Any update from the transmitter heads for TMG? Not yet. I know that's still in development. TMG, finally, the website was down for a little while, and now it's back up, TMG America, singular.com. So they're back up online now, which is great. Good for them. They've been having some issues lately. Yeah, I hope for the best because we need more good options. It's one of those things where, yeah, the ALP is the best option. And we, as consumers, right, we need more competition, whether it's TMG or Escort or whomever, to really drive innovation. And so I really want them to be successful. And it's one of those things where like ALP, it's pricey. I get it, but it is the best. And you look at other options who are trying to be successful at a lower price point, and it's tough. This is kind of a niche market, it's kind of one of those things with like supply and demand. There's only so many people who are going to be buying laser jammers. It's not like people buying cell phones where you can drive down the price just due to high volumes, So it's one of those things where, limited demand, the price has to be kind of higher. So I'm hoping for our sake to see more options available at a lower price point. But yeah. Just bought an R1. Thanks for your channel. Hey, congrats, Kevin. Harold P. Hey, Harold. Are you the Harold from Stinger? Any news about Stinger USA? Yeah. Oh, man. Stinger. Man. Stinger's kind of a letdown. I don't know. So the news from Stinger, I guess two things. Number one, they have the new Stinger fiber transmitters and receivers now. They've been advertising that. Cliff, the previous Stinger distributor here in the US, is now gone. They've got a new distributor who's coming out. I haven't really talked to him too much. Car something, I don't even remember off the top of my head. Their Car Computer USA or something like that. So they've got new Stinger, but in the Netherlands, no news. I'm a Stinger user. Yeah, okay. So they have the Stinger fiber transmitters and receivers, which is amazing. They're super teeny tiny. They're hidden really well. They're awesome. Unfortunately, the performance was just never there. Stinger is one of those things where they have so much potential, as but like the jamming performance just never got to where we need it in terms of functionality. Like the small heads are awesome, but if they're not consistent and reliable and effective, who cares, It has to work well, and they've just never been able to deliver. They're still full of bugs. The radar side, BSM filtering and consistency, even their in-car radar filter, they're the only ones who have the ability to filter out radar. If you have BSM in your car, turns out that doesn't work properly. And that would be such a useful feature. More and more cars have BSMs. Luckily, that's going to be going away soon. K-band BSM, it's going to be going away. But it's been frustrating with Stinger. It's been disappointing. As far as the radar side, they have the new Stinger card, which is a smaller strip. Instead of the big Stinger, the Stinger VIP like touchscreen display, they're going to be doing a smaller Stinger card, which is cool. I messaged them on Twitter about it. They've been talking about it, and I believe it has the same functionality. I forget if it has the same ability to control it or what. Maybe you configure it from the VIP, but then you switch to the card. I forget what. I haven't used one myself, but the performance and filtering and functionality needs to be there, and they're, I guess, for whatever reason, having a tough time developing a reliable, effective product. And so they can make really tiny jammer heads in a smaller display, but if the performance isn't there, I don't know. I've just kind of like moved on from waiting for Stinger to do something. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's Stinger. It's been a bit of a letdown, to be honest, because there was so much potential there, you know? Yeah. Remember when Stinger had issues with Germany and speed cams? Yeah. I don't know. Are you hoping that more people buy jammers? Are you afraid that awareness will change the way police operate? It's funny. That's kind of one of the double-edged swords, right? Like I'm here promoting and talking about this stuff, but at what point do they get so common that it's like, okay, well, now there's more awareness and there's more laws passed against them, and same thing with radar detectors. And I guess it's, again, kind of a double-edged sword where I find this stuff super helpful, but how far do you want this stuff to go before there's too much awareness, you know? Yeah, it's a great question. It is kind of one of those double-edged swords. Yeah. Getting that close. Do you want your channel to grow so much that it changes countermeasure awareness? Same thing. You know, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Radar detectors, there's already plenty of awareness about those, but they're still legal in most places. It's not like people don't know about them. I mean, they're sold in Best Buy and they're sold everywhere. I mean, it's not like this stuff is super secret or anything, you know? Yeah. Let's see. Jammers are illegal in most places. I guess it depends on what you define as most places. I think there's like 10, 11, 12 states or something where they're banned, but the current laws are pretty minimal. The punishments are minimal. So it's not like overseas in, you know, Ontario, they can like take them off your cars and it's thousands of dollars penalties in Europe. So here in the US, the penalties are pretty small. Luckily for us, knock on wood, you know, maybe if that changes one day, that'll make it tougher for us, you know, but yeah, it's a great question. Let's see. V1, bought a V1 12 to 15 years ago. Looks bad, about falling apart, but still works great. Yeah. V1s, man, it might be a good idea. Lucky me, you'd want to update it to get Bluetooth and better filtering and performance and capabilities and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, always an option. Hopefully V1 eventually releases, you know, they've been working on new patents for a new display, a new scanning platform, should give better performance, maybe RDD immune, frequency display on the screen, all this kind of stuff that they could do. Excuse me, but we've been waiting years for all that stuff. So maybe kind of in the back of my head, I've been thinking maybe once the Escort, well, now owned by Escort wasn't originally, but once the GPS lockout patent expires, GPS could be added to the V1 and they could build that in. And if you're coming out with a new hardware platform, a new display, you could put Bluetooth built into the detector. You could integrate GPS in the detector. You could kind of do everything at once. And so maybe all these delays are because of just, is Mike Valentine just kind of slowing down? He's getting closer to retirement. You know, he maybe doesn't have the same level of like intensity that he once did. Totally understandable. It may be waiting for GPS just due to like patent restrictions, you know, just kind of do everything at once. I know some of the patents have been either got denied and then he had to reapply. So there's been delays with that. So there's just stuff without knowing all the details behind the scenes. We're kind of left speculating from the outside, you know, but yeah, we're just all still kind of waiting on like more V1 updates. So I'd love to see it. As soon as there's like a new V1, it's like, here's the whole thing, like, shut up and take my money. It's like, I'm ordering, I can't wait to see one. So that would be great. I would love to see that. So, I mean, my V1 has mostly been sitting on the shelf. Like I'm just like most of you guys waiting for the update, but I can't wait to see the new version. So hopefully soon, but don't hold your breath. It's already been years and who knows what'll come out, you know? Don't forget to tell everyone at CES that we want open APIs. I'm going to tell people now. We want open APIs. It's amazing. Look what I did for Valentine. Do it for Escort. Do you guys remember somebody like tried to reverse engineer Escort Live and they built their own third-party app? I forget what it was called, but Escort actually shut the guys down. Some guy, like a college student or something, was reverse engineering Escort's Escort Live API to make a third-party app to do a lot of really cool stuff. And Escort was like, nope, shut him down. I'm like, dude, allow people to help you out. And I don't know if it was Escargot Drive. I think it was something else initially. Yeah, which is now like ThreatLink or the other way around or something. I think it was actually something else. It may no. The issue with Escargo Drive, I think, was something related to the name, and so they had to change the name to something else. But there was another one as well, which got shut down. But it's like, you want to know a fun fact? These third-party apps, the Max 360 transmits directional information with the arrows over Bluetooth. And so the third-party apps that can communicate with the Escort products had arrow information and can display it on your phone. But even though Escort already has that information and is already transmitting over Bluetooth, they've never, in all the years since the 360 has been out, they've never bothered to update the Escort Live app to give the information that's already being transmitted from the detector. How cool would that be to have arrows in the app just like we have with the V1 apps? It's like, what the heck is Escort doing? And it was just kind of one of those things, like, where's the updates to make it more reliable and all this kind of stuff? It would be super helpful. They already built it in, but like, I think the whole idea was the third-party company that they outsource Escort Live development to, just for whatever reason, that whole relationship wasn't working well. And I guess it's been like a lower priority or something. And I remember asking them about this, and eventually they're like, yeah, we decided not to do it. And I think really it was just like the company that we're using just not working well, so we're not going to be able to get that done. So we've decided to not do it. That's my guess. But I'm like, come on, that would be awesome. You guys already have it. Do it, you know? So the only arrows we have right now are the live alerts. So if somebody else got an alert, we know that that alert is ahead of you or you've already passed it. That's different than detecting a radar alert in real time and displaying that information on screen, you know? So I would love to see Escort do that. And if they would open it up to third-party developers, they could do so much cool stuff, just like what was done with the V1, you know? So work with people, quit fighting them. It would really help, but okay, I'll get off my soapbox about that one. Yeah. What's the difference between the different Dragon Eyes? Dragon Eye Compact, Dragon Eye Laser Ally. Okay, so in a nutshell, the original versions of the Laser Ally had very simplistic versions of variable pulse rates. At first, it was maybe like 12 pulse patterns. They were predictable, and it was just the same repeating patterns. That was easy to kind of jam. Well, it was easier because if you have a couple different variable-ish but repeating and predictable pulse patterns, you can just build them all into the laser jammer, and you're like, oh, I recognize this is pulse pattern number 4 out of 12 or 9 out of 12. I can jam it. Cool. And so, again, the whole cat and mouse game thing. Eventually, it's gotten to the point now where every single time you pull the trigger, it is a brand new, never seen before pulse pattern. So it's not predictable. It's not repeatable. It's not the same 10, 12, whatever pulses. It's brand new. Without getting into too much technical information about what they're doing now, yeah, every time you pull the trigger, it's different. And that's what makes it so difficult for a lot of these jammers. If you guys remember the laser interceptor, they started adding these predictable pulses into the laser interceptor, but it kind of started to overload the capacity of memory that it could do. And it was kind of getting more difficult for the laser interceptor to jam it. And for those of you guys remembering, it would kind of get croaky, the sound, when it tried jamming these. It had to do with just pushing the limits of what the jammer was designed to handle. It wasn't designed for these VPR guns, and it would kind of put too much strain on the system. And the audio would just sound weird because of this. Eventually, we started getting into total random, unpredictable, and variable pulse rates. And that's when we started needing some of the newer variants of the jammers, TMG, ALP, the new Escorts, that kind of stuff that are able to do these. And they require new jamming capabilities to handle completely unpredictable and variable random pulse rates that we're seeing now out of the newer guns. And all these new things, there's the full-size guns, there's the compact variants, there's different pulse patterns, and all the different variants the Dragon Eye have to do with either the style, physically of the gun, or the pulse patterns that are being done. And then there's also some contractual stuff with who the guns are being sold by. They were sold by Decatur for a little while. There's a couple third parties that were doing it. There's contractual stuff behind the scenes too, as far as naming and that kind of stuff. But I guess hopefully that answers your question. It comes down to the physical design of the gun, the shape, and the types of pulse patterns, and then also some distribution stuff as well. Yeah. Let's see. Where can we leave information about the RDF GS 1.0? Good question. So I'm so glad the RDF GS 1.0 is now back online. So if you guys search on RDF for RDF GS, you'll find a thread to where you can now view the RDF GS as well as edit it. So if you guys have additional information, you can go post what you're seeing as far as different radar bands, laser guns that are now in use in your area, you now have the ability to go in and update the information. So just search on the forums. If you search like some of my old videos and website articles, I've actually gone back and edited the links there to point to the new thread to where you can go do it. So search any of my old content or just hop on the forums and you'll find the reference to it. So yes, good news. Big thank you to XYD for updating or making the RDF GS 1.0 at least viewable and editable again. Yes, that's awesome. That's been such a big, fantastic resource. It's an interesting one. Can you tell me how much difference is there between the Renenso Pro M and the European Geneva 1M? Very different. Same underlying hardware platform, but different features, different engineers like who are coming, well, maybe not the engineers designing it, but the people who are coming up with new features, the frequencies it's scanning for. Yes, they're based on the same platform, but they have completely different people operating, doing things, selling. Actually quite different. So the Renenso Pro M is not an American version of the Genevo and vice versa. They are pretty different products at this point. And I remember like Renenso even coming on the forums would be like, they're making a big deal of, it's not the same thing. We are our own brand and that kind of stuff. So yes, the companies are sourcing a lot of the products from the same things, but after that, it really varies. So yeah. Trevor, it's really cool to have that sixth sense of situational awareness. That's actually why I got into radar detectors. It was not about like all the speeding and that kind of stuff. It's just cool to know what's going on around you. Myself, my background is computer engineering. I loved RF and lasers and wireless communication and satellite communications, SATCOM in general. Like I just love understanding, you know, all the wireless energy, the radio waves that are going on around me. And that was always one of the things I loved about the V1 is you get the arrows, the frequency, the signal strength, multiple signals at the same time. And you can start to see how the radar waves correlate to the terrain as you go around a curve or over a hill. You can see the signal strength start to get stronger and you're like, start to see the invisible. And that was so much fun. You know, it was more about that stuff. Everybody, and it's one of the most common questions. Why don't you guys obey the law? Why don't you just do the speed limit, you know, about radar detectors? And that's a totally legitimate thing. It's a pretty simplistic argument, totally understandable. There's more things you can get into about how a lot of the stuff, it's not actually for safety. It's more revenue generation. And, you know, people find that the speed limit should be here for safety. It's the 85th percentile. It's what the roads are designed for. It's what the cars are designed for. But politicians will come and set the speed limits here instead of what it's actually all designed for, because it's an easy way to start generating revenue. And so you can start to, there's multiple aspects to this whole thing of the speed limit and obeying the law, which is totally legitimate. And, you know, it's a really simplistic thing. And especially in the news, they're always pumping about how it's, oh, the reason for the accident was the speed and all that kind of stuff. And again, there is truth to that. If you're going slower, you've got more braking distance, your reaction time, you know, you'll travel less distance by the time you see that something's going on. Again, there's totally legitimate stuff to it at all, but it's very simplistic and very one-sided to look at that. And the world is not that black and white, you know? So yeah, that's, I thought about actually at some point doing a video on just that. I figured it'd be a very polarizing topic, but yeah, I don't know. There's good arguments to be made in both directions. Then it comes up to all of us to make educated and informed decisions as far as what we decide is best. So yeah. Is the V1 a better radar detector now than the R3? Gosh, that's such a tough question. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. It's, again, it's not black and white. Which one is better? The R3 has better range. It has GPS built in. The V1 adds arrows. It's got the Bluetooth API. Like, they each have their own strengths and weaknesses that it's not that clear cut to say which one is better. There's a lot of people who prefer the V1 and it's a better detector for them. There's a lot of people who prefer the R3 and that's a better detector for them. So I wish it was that simple, but it's not, which makes my job tougher because I can't give a simple answer to a simple question. You know, I've thought about so many times oversimplifying, and on my website, you'll see here's the #1 detector or #2 and #3. And that's kind of done just to like try to give people a really simple answer. But sometimes I honestly feel it's a little oversimplified. And yeah, I don't know. Eric, hey, what's up, Vortex? What's your first name? My name is Ariel. Ariel. That is my name. Hey, what's up, everybody? But I go by Vortex or Vortex Radar online. It's kind of the whole radar thing. But yeah, my name is Ariel. Let's see. Did you get the forwarded article I sent about the history of the first radar detector with the fuzz buster? I did. That was awesome. Thank you. It was really cool. This stuff, I mean, I got into radar detectors in 2012. A lot of you guys have been into this stuff, way longer than I have. So I love learning from you guys about a lot of the historical stuff and the history and the bigger context of, when cops only used X-band and then they switched to K-band and there were no sources of false alerts and it was all constant on. It was all like the only sources of radar were police radar. So you didn't have to deal with false alerts at all. Like that would be amazing, So I loved learning about all this stuff well before I got into radar detectors. So yeah, that's fun. I can't share as much of that stuff because I didn't do it myself. I would love to maybe interview somebody one day and kind of go into all this stuff. But yeah, again, that's not something that I would be able to do myself from firsthand direct experience. Kevin, do all radar detectors pick up radar from behind? Yes. And this is kind of so I've done a video about this 360-degree radar detection, how it's kind of a marketing thing. Every radar detector can pick up radar from behind. Radar, it bounces, right? The whole reason that police use radar is they shoot radar, it hits a car, and it reflects, and it bounces back to the radar gun. So the whole reason radar works in the first place is because of this whole reflectivity thing. Now, a radar detector can pick up a signal from behind, maybe not as well as it can from the front. It's kind of similar to how you can hear signals from the front better than you can from behind, but you can still hear signals from behind, right? Our ears are kind of directional, and the similar principle applies to radar. Sure, some of the less sensitive radar detectors will struggle to pick signals up from behind, but they can still do it. Additionally, they have the benefit of the radar wave will travel from behind your car, past your car, hit something in front of you like another car or a speed or a sign or trees or buildings or whatever, will bounce off and then reflect back into the front antenna. And so they can pick it up from all different directions. And so you'll see it advertised of our radar detector has 360-degree detection capabilities. Who cares? That's a marketing thing more than anything. Now, then the next step is to say, what about radar detectors that have a rear antenna? The Valentine One, the Max 360. What about a remote that has a secondary rear antenna? The benefits there, yes, you will get longer detection range. And if you look at tests, you'll see detectors that have a rear antenna, it makes total sense, will be able to pick signals up better from behind. Now, usually if an officer is close enough to the point where he can actually clock you, it's not the right term, but let's say he can actually, measure your speed from behind. If he's close enough, yes, your radar detector will alert too. So it's not a huge benefit, but in some instances, if he's shooting instant on behind you or something, a rear antenna detector is more likely to pick it up. And if he's zooming up like way faster than you are, he's going to be able to catch up to you a lot faster. And so, yeah, a rear antenna can, in certain instances, help you detect radar in a helpful way from behind, but usually not. The main benefit of the rear antenna is the fact that it can compare signal strength in the front and the rear to figure out where the signal is coming from and, light up front antenna if the signal is stronger ahead, or rear antenna if the signal is stronger from behind. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's the general idea. The main benefit of the detector with arrows or with a rear antenna is arrows more so than truly detecting signals from behind. So, yeah, that's that. Let's see. Hey, Vortex, enjoying your stream. Just wanted to say, hope your travels and New Year's Eve were good. Thank you. Yeah, I hope you had a great New Year as well. Yeah, that should be good. Doug, you should interview Mike Valentine. Talked to him a couple times over the past couple months. We're both in agreement. We'd love to do it, but a lot of it comes down to like finding a place where we can both be in the same place at the same time. He's in Cincinnati area. I'm over here on the West Coast. So it's a question of like, just, I guess, being in the same place at the same time, but a lot of it comes down to that and scheduling with his travels or my travels or whatever. So it's one of the things to do, but yeah. Alan, do you generally turn on or off laser detection on a radar detector if you don't have laser jammers? You might as well turn it on. Some detectors will false to laser, so it's something to be aware of. A couple radar detectors will sometimes false to laser depending on your car and where you drive and where your phone is mounted and stuff. So you may want to actually consider turning off laser detection, but might as well have it on. I mean, I've seen a few instances, they're rare, but I've seen a few instances of people being saved by the laser detection. It's things like if you get shot with laser while you're speeding up, you get the notification of like, oh, hey, I'm getting shot with laser. I better pull it back, So that kind of stuff can be helpful, and it is possible for a laser detection and a radar detector to save you, but it's not going to be nearly as helpful as a proper laser jammer. So as long as you're not getting a ton of false alerts, you might as well leave it on because it's possible that it could help you. And it's kind of nice to know if you're getting shot with laser, even though the detector isn't going to always pick it up in the first place. It's nice to have the capability, you know. So anyway, here's an interesting one. Insight on the health concerns in regard to being blasted with IO. I see it touched on the forums with laser, but not so much KA. Yeah, so there's something that years ago, officers were concerned because they would take a radar gun and the guns would always transmit. Instant on wasn't really a thing years ago. And sometimes they would have the gun and like just have it resting in their lap. And then some cops developed testicular cancer. And so there was an issue with like, okay, make sure that guns are not mounted towards you, or was it actually related to the radar guns, or do we need to have the ability for the guns to turn off, all this kind of stuff. And so in general, yeah, it's rare. I would have to go back and look at the research. I'm sure if you guys are interested, you can go look up the research too. I don't think if it was ever, I'm not sure if it was found to be an issue, or if some of the changes have been made of like the gun is always pointing away from you and behind you, that kind of stuff, or the antenna to help minimize these risks. But in general, from a driver's perspective, you're going to face way less radar than any officer will, you know? And if the officers at this point are okay, us as drivers, we're going to be more than okay. So really the risks aren't that big as far as what I can tell. So let's see, Robert, how long are you keeping the Miata? So I'm actually looking at changing it probably in the springtime. So I posted on Twitter and stuff like, oh, hey, you can come help me discuss. I've been discussing this for the past couple days on the forum. So I'm looking at actually trading my Miata in for an SUV. I'd like something all-wheel drive, more room, and probably one of the most important things is it has to be good for my videos. So I need to be able to mount, different radar detectors and jammers in the grill for testing. Like my Miata, I had to have holes like professionally cut into the grill to install my ALPs, but it's not easy for me to install the TMGs, which is why they're still sitting down there, or the Escort ones I just had to throw in my wife's car, It's tough for me to do like comparison stuff. So I'm looking for something with the grill that allows me to make it easy to install different laser jammers as well as different remote radar detectors. So like the Redenso, the Net Radar. I don't think I'll install the Stinger back in my SUV. It'll probably just sit in my drawer as well. I'd like to get the Escort, Max CI, things like that. So I've been looking at the Explorer, the new 2021. That looks pretty cool, but it's supposed to be announced on the 9th. But I emailed my local Ford dealer, and they were saying they think it's not going to come out till like the end of the year or something. And I'm like, oh man, because the grill looked cool. Some of the new features look cool. So I've been looking at, I don't know, the Hyundais. Like I need to filter out anything with K-band BSM for obvious reasons. Looking into options like some of them you mentioned with the Mazdas, you can actually turn off the BSM or like pull a cable or something, and then you plug in an OBD2 connector to get rid of the error codes and stuff. So the Edge ST, like one of the biggest things I'm seeing is a lot of SUVs they have the new like honeycomb or mesh grills that just makes it tough to install a lot of the countermeasures. So I'm kind of limited. Like the new, the Alpha SUVs would be a blast to drive, but it would be terrible when it comes to mounting SUVs, Yes, the new Ford Explorer 2020s, I forget if it's like transverse for the old ones or the new ones, but they are changing the orientation of the engine, which is changing the wheelbase and that kind of stuff. So that's cool. There's a lot of changes that are going to be coming. I think they're still using steel. They're not going to aluminums, but they are supposed to be lighter for better fuel economy. I don't know. So all sorts of things to consider. But yeah, I'm definitely looking at SUVs. I'll probably go test drive some tomorrow. I was thinking of if I want to like do videos of driving different cars, and instead of doing all my videos, which is usually me sitting in the seat of my Miata or me sitting right back here doing videos with this in the background, actually doing the like vlog ones where I'm going around with the camera and do that style just for something different, I don't know, maybe just for a little variety. But right now I'm kind of focused on like CES prep stuff, just getting everything there. And when I come back from CES, then I'll be looking more at like different SUVs and what I want to get. So yes, I'm looking forward to having something with more room. My Miata is stuffed. My ALP CPU doesn't even fit into the center console. I've pretty much run out of room to like shove stuff everywhere. Controllers and speakers and cables. The cables are meant for like, a lot of times they're long cables, and I've got everything bundled up, so they take room. So I would love to have something that has more room for just shoving in way too many countermeasures and dash cams into my vehicle. So that'll be nice. Yeah. Video of you testing cars and pointing out pluses or minus related to mounting radar and dash cams. It's interesting. Things that I've been seeing so far, some of the stuff is obvious. Like, do I have horizontal grill slats that make it easy to insert? That would be nice. Two things that I've noticed that are I didn't really realize until I got into like sitting into some of these cars specifically for what I do. Number one, I sat in, I think it was the Ford Edge. Looked pretty cool. It was better than the Explorer for like some of the grill things and whatnot. But uh, there were a couple cigarette lighter ports, which is really handy. I always wind up installing a bunch more for testing and make it easier to plug stuff in and whatever. But the SUVs, they're bigger than my Miata. And so if I have something mounted on the lower part of the windshield, you guys have seen it from my videos, I usually have a radar detector there. It's tough for me to go up and hit the buttons on camera because things are mounted so much farther away. And I was always like, well, why do you need a cigarette lighter cable? You can just reach across the button. It's like, well, yeah, that's true. But if you drive something bigger than my Miata, it's nice having a remote mute button where you can just boop, hit the button right there and it'll mute the radar detector out on the windshield. It's not going to look as good on camera because you won't see me hitting the button. You'll just see, oh, the detector muted itself because you don't see me hitting the button. But for my sake, at least I can hit the button and lock out signals and whatever. And it makes it easier. Now, one of the things I'm finding is not every car has a cigarette lighter conveniently located like kind of down underneath the stereo. Some of them are under the center console, or I think the Edge was like more in the passenger footwell, and I can't hit that while I'm driving. I just need it to be like right there to hit the button, you know? Not all of them actually have a cigarette lighter mounted there. So that was kind of something I'm noticing. The second thing was a lot of cars now just above the stereo, they have this like mini display, kind of like an iPad or something that sort of sticks up. Mazdas are doing that now. Audis, Hyundais, Fords, I think. Like a lot of manufacturers have this little display that sticks up out of the dash. I've never really liked that. And I'm also finding that depending on where I have stuff mounted, sometimes that'll get in the way of like, I need to be able to reach over it to hit buttons and maybe mess with my camera or something. So it can kind of get in the way. I'll have to take a look with where the camera and the radar detector and all dash cam, that kind of stuff is mounted. So I'll just need to make sure that if I have that, it doesn't get in the way of me needing to interact with anything on the windshield. So I'm kind of coming across things like that I wasn't thinking about besides the obvious of like, I need to be able to stick a laser jammer in the grill, and I need to make sure I don't have K-band BSM that is falsing my radar detectors in my car. You know, sometimes I test crappy radar detectors or older radar detectors. I've got the Solo S4 that I've been running. It has zero BSM filtering. And so even though the newer ones can maybe filter out some of the BSMs, if I'm testing an older detector, I'm just going to get false alerts and I'm not going to be able to use it properly in the car. So it has to be one that I'm going to be able to use in my vehicle for a wide variety of radar detectors and different laser jammers. So those are kind of some of the things that I've been looking at. Mark IV Golf, pretty much the same. Get a 4Runner. I've looked at the Toyotas. They don't have K-band BSM, so that could be an option. So yeah, Subarus. I drove. So I would love to get another Subaru. I had a 97 Outback. It was one of my favorite cars ever. And I remember when I was looking to replace it, I went and drove a 2012 Outback. And I just really didn't like it, but I really wanted one. So I went back to go drive it again because I still really wanted an Outback and I still really didn't like it. I remember it was the CVT. That in combination with like the 6-cylinder, I don't remember if I didn't like the pickup or the gear shifting or something. Just driving it, I didn't enjoy the driving experience itself. And also the Bluetooth, it was like separate for the audio and the phone for music streaming. I think it only had one or the other, so the Bluetooth wasn't that good. But that was 2011, 2012. We're 2019 now, so there'll be newer tech, all the stuff that's integrated better. Now we have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, that kind of stuff. The Bluetooth will be working better. I know they still have the CVT, which I'm kind of like, oh man, but they do have the new body style. The next gen Outback is out now. So that's one that I want to go take a look at too. And if it would work, I would love to do that. The grill looks good. Maybe the Subaru Ascent, I don't know, but I would, I guess, kind of prefer the Outback. We'll see. So yeah, I'm definitely in the process of like looking at new vehicles now to swap out for the Miata. So something to keep an eye out for. Wagons, SUVs, we'll have to see. The Subaru Insight system, I don't think it falses anything. I haven't heard of any BSM falses or laser falses from Subarus, but is that something you're seeing? So the new in Europe, Genevo is falsing all the time to the new Skodas and Toyota on multi-radar. We had that issue here with the Redensos falsing to like Ford BSM will false to MRCD and stuff. Let's see. It's because of the cameras. You can't mount stuff on your windshield. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, sometimes if it's bulky, it limits the space there. And I've also noticed things like sometimes those camera systems will come right up to the rear view mirror and it limits how much rear view mirror stem I have. And I use my blend mount all the time for either mounting a radar detector or right now I use it. That's for my GoPro is hanging off the rear view mirror stem on a blend mount. And if I don't have a good way to clamp onto there, that's going to really limit my capabilities. So it's, yeah, I guess just things like this that are kind of limiting what I'm looking for. And yeah, I guess these are some of the things that I'm coming across, but yeah. Let's see. Testing a new R1 with my Magnum and the R1. Falsing was setting up my K-band. Yeah. Become a truck man. That would be fun. Well, I don't really need the bed. I'd love to get like a Raptor or something, but I'd have no need for an actual truck. But yeah, they're great. Rod, tell me the best dash cam front and rear. I just did a video with Alex, the CEO of Black Box My Car. Take a look at my YouTube channel and you'll find actually my latest video of like the best dash cams on the market. It's just kind of like one of those sit down chit chat. Let's just talk about everything and share our experiences. So it's like 45 minutes long or something, but we go into options as far as single channel, dual channel, driving only or driving versus parking, different price points, all that kind of stuff. It's all covered there. Let's see. Full-size police Tahoe. Trevor, aren't car manufacturers moving away from K-band radar by 2021? Yes, this is awesome. So K-band is going to be phased out from BSM radar, thank goodness. And auto manufacturers, this is from the FCC, they're going to be mandating that auto manufacturers move away from K-band for all their radar-based collision avoidance system and move over to kind of like 76 to 81 gigahertz, kind of in that range. And yeah, so all the K-band BSM stuff is going to be going away over time, thank goodness. Now, that doesn't mean that all the existing K-band BSM, like all the Acuras, are going to suddenly disappear off the road, right? So we're still going to have to deal with the current ones. Plus, even after that time, you'll find that manufacturers are still going to be allowed to bring in K-band BSM for existing older cars if they need to be replaced. They don't want to change the frequency, so they can take an old part. So let's say 2025, when they've moved away from K-band. If anything ever happens to that one, they can take an old K-band BSM and put it back into the older car and continue using it. It's not like the older ones have to be replaced to a new frequency. So it's not like they're going to be going away completely, but it's like 2020 or 21 or 22 or something, yes, manufacturers are going to be moving away from K-band and going up to higher frequencies. So I need your opinion. You presented 5 cameras. Yeah, again, watch the video. It's all there. If you guys ever need like personalized one-on-one support, like my whole idea with these videos is it's a lot easier to kind of go everything and put all the information out there and help like hundreds or thousands of people, because the one-on-one stuff, it's a little bit tougher for me to do. But if you ever need any like really specific information, a lot of times the best thing to do is like book a private session with me on my website. It's like the link right at the top. You'll see it there. We can go over the best radar detectors or laser jammers or dash cameras or how to install them on your car, or how to program and like really get into anything custom for you. But a lot of the most general stuff you'll find available like on YouTube or my website and that kind of stuff. So that's usually how I separate the two. But yeah, anyway, coming back to the non-K-band BSM, it should, for the most part, help with getting rid of a lot of the K-band BSMs. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily that it'll completely solve the issue. And one good example of that was the Teslas. If you, Jadong on the forums had a Max CI, the remote, and he mounted the head right next to his kind of autopilot system, which has like 77 gigahertz BSM. Now, one of the harmonics of that would trigger like 35.7 gigahertz. What is that, like 71 harmonic or something? It was one of those things where even though it wasn't K-band, it could still trigger these like weird Ka falses because the harmonics tended to land on like a Ka-ish frequency. It's, I guess, similar to some of the Cobras that like their LO, the harmonic is at like an 11, or the LO is at 11 gigahertz. So the harmonics will be up around 33-ish, which is why it'll trigger some K-band or Ka-band falses. But anyway, the point is you may still see some other falses even at these higher frequencies, but they're going to be much, much rarer. And one solution that Escort came out with was because the false alerts were at like 35.7-ish gigahertz. We had the ability with Ka-band segmentation to just turn off that frequency range and get rid of those false alerts entirely. So that was kind of a solution that we're seeing for some of the in-car radar system that's non-K-band, but can still false a radar detector in your own vehicle. So that's why I'm saying the new higher frequency stuff may not totally resolve it completely, but realistically, it should solve like 99% of the issues. And driving around, our cars are not going to false to other people who are using non-K-band BSM. So that's why you'll see things like I don't know, the Subarus, I believe, they don't generally false our radar detectors if you see another Subaru on the road. Or actually, maybe they do. I forget. I don't know. Whatever. The ones where you see BSMs that don't false our detectors, usually they're on K-band frequencies, or maybe the detector's been updated to filter them out. But yeah. The Macan. Yeah, I looked at the Macans. It's actually one of my dreams. One of my dream SUVs is a white on black Cayenne. I remember driving that, the X5M, was it the ML63 AMG, and the Jeep SRT8 Grand Cherokee, and I loved them. They were all really different too. The SRT8 was really rough. The Cayenne was my favorite by far. I loved it. But they're kind of pricey. So yeah, I looked at the Macans as well. You can get them down lower, but they're still a little bit outside my price range, and they're smaller than I'd want. I do want something sized more like a Cayenne. So maybe my next SUV, maybe when I become like one of those YouTube millionaires with like millions of subscribers or something at some point, but not quite there yet, but working on it. Yeah. But yeah, their grills are amazing. Some of the new Audi grills, they don't just have the horizontal slats anymore. They also have like vertical slats, which are kind of blocking stuff. So I looked at that like with the Audi Allroad, and I don't know, maybe a used Q5 or something, maybe get it with like CPO. So it's still got some warranty. The grills are actually kind of becoming sort of problematic for CMs. So, but yeah, the Porsches are better. Okay, Celt B5. I run the 9500 Ci. Do you think the sensitivity is impacted by mounting the antenna behind the plastic grill? So the signal has to pass through the material first. Yes. If it's flat, non-metallic paint, you should be able to install it just fine behind the grill. It should very minimally impact the performance. The biggest issue we actually see is mounting it behind a grill, like one of those mesh grills or something. It's kind of counterintuitive because you can see the antenna and it looks like, oh, the radar signal can pass through. There's nothing in the way, as opposed to mounting it behind a bumper panel or something. However, that can drop your range, we've seen in testing, by about 50%. What happens is part of the signal passes through unobstructed. Some of the other signal hits the grill and gets delayed a little bit. It kind of travels slower through that material. And so the signal starts to arrive at different times. And then you have what's called destructive interference, where because one part of the signal, it's phase shifted, it'll actually start to destructively interfere with other parts of the signal. So overall, you'll see reduced signal strength and then reduced range in your radar detectors. So installing it behind a grill can actually really negatively impact performance even more than installing it behind a bumper panel. And so metal, if you have like a metal panel, do not install it behind that. Don't install it behind like a honeycomb grill or something. Ideally, you're going to want it out in the open with nothing obscuring it, but I know not every car, of course, it's an issue I'm running into now. Not every vehicle allows you to do this, and not everybody wants the detector out visible in the open. It may be unsightly for aesthetic reasons or whatever. Not everybody wants to do that. And so you could install it behind a bumper panel. Just make sure you're not installing it behind anything metal. So usually like a flat, not curved or angled or anything, flat piece of plastic without metallic paint, and you'll be okay. So yeah, cool. All right, well, I think that's pretty good for now. My stomach's starting to rumble and getting a little hungry. I need to go walk my dog. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I think my next video will be from Las Vegas at CES. I'm going to get back to working here on my DFR9 setup video, then move on to the DFR8, and I'll post those after I get back. But my dog is asleep here underground. I saw him blink, so he's awake now as I'm talking. So go walk my dog, grab a bite to eat. Hope you guys are having a good weekend, and I will see you from Las Vegas. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys later.